Do you struggle with really sensitive facial skin? Are you prone to blushing and flushing when it's really embarrassing or inconvenient? Do you have stingy skin that's really hypersensitive and sometimes just downright hurts? And/or do you have pimples and you're way past your pimple-prone years? Well, if you answered yes to those questions, you may actually have rosacea. Hi, I'm board-certified dermatologist and skin wellness expert, Dr. Cynthia Bailey. And rosacea is pretty darn common. In fact, I even have it myself. In my 30-some-odd years of practicing dermatology, I've treated, thousands of people with rosacea. Every complexion, combination, and skin type permutation can get rosacea. It's more common in fair-skinned women, like me, but anybody can have it. I've seen it in all skin tones from all parts of the world and in all adult ages. There are two main types of rosacea. The first is the erythematotelangiectatic type. Erythema means redness, and telangiectasia means the little broken capillaries. The second type of rosacea is papulopustular rosacea. And papules are little bumps, and pustules, of course, are little pimples. And the two types can coexist or they can be different. They share some similarities, but they also are distinct. There are a couple things that are interesting about rosacea and who's prone to it. So first, it can run in families. If someone in your family has rosacea, you may well have rosacea too. Second, it can be associated with a number of gastrointestinal diseases, which is sort of funny. Because at one point, there was a little blip in time where scientists actually thought rosacea was due to H. pylori in the stomach. Actually, having H. pylori can put you at increased risk for rosacea, but it's not the whole story. Rosacea can also be associated with other gastrointestinal diseases such as celiac, Crohn's, and inflammatory bowel disease. Rosacea can be associated with neurological conditions as well, such as Parkinson's. We also know that rosacea is more likely if you've had a lot of sun damage. It's more likely if you have a high BMI or body mass index, meaning if you're a little overweight, you're more likely to have rosacea. And if you smoke, you're more likely to have rosacea as well. So let's talk about the two main types of rosacea and how they manifest on your skin. So first, the erythematotelangiectatic type. As the name implies, and as I just mentioned, there tends to be redness of the face, and it tends to be on the sort of central portion of the face, the apples of the cheek, the mid portion of the forehead, and the chin. There's often tiny little broken capillaries on the skin that are prone to blushing and flushing. They have an abnormal reactivity that just tends to want to allow them to engorge and create a sort of hot, stingy sensation on the skin. The erythematotelangiectatic type of rosacea can be subtle, where you just have a little bit of that, or it can be really dramatic, where your skin is just really hard to deal with. Triggers such as heat, exercise, spicy foods, irritating skincare products, and irritating skincare procedures can all make this kind of rosacea worse, because there's actually a problem with the skin barrier, and things that are done to the skin or applied to the skin get in really readily and just kind of make it all crazy. The erythematotelangiectatic type of rosacea is actually the classic sensitive skin. It's some of the most sensitive skin that I've treated in my dermatology practice. And it's actually pretty tricky to craft a skincare routine for people who have very twitchy erythematotelangiectatic rosacea. It's also more common in young, fair-skinned women. The second type of rosacea is the papulopustular rosacea, and this can actually be very different. The skin is often not sensitive at all. In fact, it's actually sometimes quite tough. Sometimes it's a little bit thickened. The oil glands are sometimes a little bit enlarged. There's more tendency for sebaceous hyperplasia, which is where this oil gland, for whatever reason, decides to proliferate and makes a little donut around the pore. Again, the first type, erythematotelangiectatic rosacea, can also get that sebaceous hyperplasia. But in the papulopustular type of rosacea, those sebaceous hyperplasia papules can be little mountains on the face, and they're hard to treat because they're actually a little structure under here. You think, I could just sort of poke something in there and get stuff out. No, that oil gland is tough and tethered down by your skin. It's actually a structure. It's not something you can just pop out of your skin. In the papulopustular type of rosacea, you can also have flushing too, and the broken capillaries can be huge, like little road maps on the face. So everything's just kind of bigger and more, except for the skin sensitivity, which often doesn't exist. And in addition, these oil glands can get so doggone big on the nose where the oil glands are really dense that you actually have rhinophyma, which is that big bulbous sort of a nose that gets worse and worse over time and is pretty tricky to deal with. So the similarities between the two types of rosacea. First, we don't know what causes it. We're not exactly sure. Other than genetic factors, and there's a role for the Demodex mite, we don't exactly know what the role is. It may be that there's a bacteria that produces a protein, and that bacteria lives on the exoskeleton of the mite that's in the pores. We all have Demodex mites. Some people have more mites than others. And those mites have bacteria on them, and those bacteria secrete a protein, and that protein may lead to a downstream cascade that causes the inflammation around the pore and a proliferation and hyperreactivity of the capillaries. But frankly, we just don't exactly know. Both kinds of rosacea can look a little bit like acne. Now, you may or may not have full-on pimples, but you usually do have little red papules with the erythematotelangiectatic type, and with the papulopustular, you can have big old juicy pimples around the pores. So you may think that you have acne, but if you look really closely, you don't see a whole lot of blackheads. I mean, you may have sort of clogged gook in your pores, sebum, and also known as oil sebum, and dead skin cells, but you don't have those true blackheads, which are those little hard plugs in there that are classic in teenage acne. So while it looks like acne, rosacea is actually different. Another thing that's common between the two types of rosacea is that you can have seborrheic dermatitis along with the rosacea. So the rosacea has, again, inflammation of the apples of the face, cheeks and chin and forehead. Seborrheic dermatitis is more likely to have redness around the areas in between, the brows, nasolabial fold, even around the ears. And pityriform yeast plays a role in seborrheic dermatitis of the face. And it's also often kind of doing something in rosacea. So when you create your complete skincare routine, your first step is cleansing. And you can use medicated cleansing products. You can use products that help diminish the pityriform yeast. And those products contain pyrithione zinc or ketoconazole. You also want to make sure that when you're cleansing, if you have the erythematotelangiectatic type of rosacea, you don't want to use products that are too harsh because your skin is fragile and your barrier is fragile. So you want to use pH balanced, gentle cleansers. We call them syndits or synthetic detergents. You can correct some of the problems with rosacea by using a variety of different products. So we know that inflammatory conditions deplete the antioxidant reserve in the skin. So you can use antioxidant-rich products to help reload your antioxidant system and help do something we don't fully understand that ultimately leads to more balanced inflammatory regulation. My favorite antioxidant ingredient for rosacea skincare is green tea because it's soothing and non-irritating and really effective at reloading the antioxidant reserve. If you have papulopustular rosacea, you can use benzoyl peroxide. Don't try it if you have the erythematotelangiectatic type, however, because it can lead to a lot of inflammation. You can also use topical anti-yeast products like clotrimazole cream. You can carefully use hydrocortisone, but there's a sort of double-edged sword with hydrocortisone. Some cortisone creams are inappropriate for facial skin, and you really need that care directed by a physician. And then you want to be sure to hydrate your skin because the barrier is compromised in rosacea, and you really need to keep the integrity of the barrier up. So pick a moisturizer that fits your skin type and is not irritating. And again, I mentioned that ultraviolet light plays a role in triggering rosacea, so you want to use a non-irritating mineral zinc oxide broad-spectrum sunscreen, which would be my top choice. So what can you do to prevent rosacea flares? Well, other than skincare that sort of doesn't irritate your skin and that helps prevent ultraviolet light from triggering your rosacea, you can avoid some of the common trigger factors for rosacea. So that would include hot situations. It may be hot weather, or it might actually be a sauna. Exercise sometimes triggers rosacea. Again, you want to exercise, but maybe cool your skin down as you're exercising so that it's not just getting all red and blushy and everything's building and building. Avoiding spicy foods, unfortunately, and that is coming from someone who loves Mexican food. So spicy foods, you'll notice if you have rosacea, cause you to blush and flush and cause your skin to sting a lot. So if you're gonna have spicy foods, be ready, be ready to kind of cool your skin down and maybe don't go nuts with the hot sauce. And harsh climates. So if you're out in a lot of wind and you're in really extreme cold, your barrier with rosacea is compromised, and so that's going to trigger a rosacea flare. And sadly, drinking alcohol makes rosacea worse. Again, this is coming from someone who lives in the wine country, so I think that's really sad, but drinking alcohol will make your rosacea worse. And so again, if you're going to drink alcohol, take it easy and kind of expect that you might need to cool your skin down and that you may have a rosacea flare afterwards. You can also stack your lifestyle to help control your rosacea. So rosacea is an inflammatory skin condition. And we know that there are certain lifestyle things you can do to either build inflammation, which is bad, or counter inflammation. So again, diet, and it's not just about spicy food with a diet. You need to eat a diet with lots of fresh fruits and veggies and not a lot of junk food and carbs, because that will fuel inflammation, which ultimately will cause misadventure in your skin. Exercise helps, again, trying not to get overheated on your face, but exercise will counter inflammation, and lack of exercise will fuel inflammation. Stress is the same thing. So if you get all stressed out, that's tipping your physiology into an inflammatory direction. If you try to balance and modulate your stress, you might be able to go back towards the middle and even create a physiology that counters inflammation. And sleep. You want to get a good night's sleep, because again, if you're sleep deprived, you're going to be more pro-inflammatory. And if you've got a good night's sleep, you're going to be more likely to control inflammation throughout your entire physiology, including your skin. And what about medical treatments for rosacea? Well, there's a lot. There's topical medications like Soolantra, which will help quiet the Demodex party going on in the pore. There are topical antibiotics like Metrogel and clindamycin, etc. We've used those for years in dermatology. My entire 30+ years of dermatology have included a variety of antibiotic topical cocktails to treat rosacea. There are also oral antibiotics as well. So there are medical treatments for rosacea. And then there's always IPL, intense pulse light. I love IPL for rosacea, especially the erythematotelangiectatic type. It seems to help diminish those broken capillaries, and the light flashes into the skin and just seems to create a sort of quiet zen that you can coast with for a while if you have twitchy, burny, stingy erythematotelangiectatic rosacea. So the bad news is rosacea is pretty common. The good news is you can do things to help your skin. And I hope that little overview I gave you gives you some ideas of how you can approach your own rosacea. You can get more information on my website. I actually have a free ebook on rosacea because I'm sort of a rosacea geek. I've got a lot of skincare advice on my website and on my blog as well for rosacea, so you can cruise around the website for that. And you can also download my free ebook on diet, because I'm also a anti-inflammatory diet geek, and I try to give you a lot of information to help you in that as well. So if you found this helpful, I love a thumbs up. If you know someone that you think might benefit from this video, please share it with them. And if you want to hear more from me about skin and skin wellness, please subscribe. So thank you very much. Bye-bye.